What's up, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Pod Snipe Celly. Joel is trying to lip sync along with my introduction here.
I did pretty good until right there.
You did okay until I tripped you up intentionally there. But he's Joel Fernino. I'm Dan Bradley. Joel,
Hello.
Welcome to the show tonight.
I am excited for tonight, man, with everything that's been happening, and I'm going to go off on a limb right now and intro this show and say, hot take, this is the best Stanley Cup playoffs I have ever seen. And that's including 3 Stanley Cup wins for my team.
Even last year's Stanley Cup playoffs were intense. We have not seen
maybe most
this caliber of chaos in quite some time.
Yeah, we definitely have a jam-packed show for everybody. We'll pretty much, it's what you're probably expecting. We'll put a nice little bow on all the round 1 matchups, mostly the insane moments, the game 7s and such. We'll preview round 2 for you, which round 2 currently is live as we speak. Florida up 1-0 on Toronto still,
up
right?
1-0 at the end of the first. Yep.
All right, we'll get into that, and then we'll do Wednesday night picks, and we have a special announcement to make midway through the show. That's what we call a tease.
That is
Stay tuned.
Official broadcast terminology there, and we absolutely love that. So, jam-packed show. Let's jump right in. I think there's no better place to start than with the absolute collapse of the Boston Bruins. The President's Trophy winning team, the most wins by a team in the regular season in NHL history, the most points by a team in the regular season in NHL history, had a 3-1 series lead, could close out with Game 5 at home and could close out with Game 7 at home, and could not get the job done. They fell in overtime in Game 7 at home after rallying to score in the last minute to force overtime. To say that this was a meltdown, Joel, to me, that's an understatement.
Oh, that's the understatement of the year. This was a flat-out implosion of the quote-unquote best regular season team in the history of the NHL. Well, how'd that work out for you? We won't get into that. We've talked about this argument. This is one of those scenarios where, and obviously we talked about what are the parameters that you would consider a team's season in any sport being a quote failure. Mm-hmm. There is no argument. The Boston Bruins of 2022-23 season was a complete, epic, utter failure.
I 100% agree. The fact that this team, not only that they didn't make it out of the first round, but that they had 3 different chances to close out the series, 2 of which at home, and could not do so, is beyond baffling to me. The injury to Linus Ullmark, really a big part of that series. He was playing through an injury in games 5 and 6. That kept him out of Game 7, so that was the decision to go to Jeremy Swayman, who has been solid this year in his own right. In fact, this was the first time in NHL history that a team had a 40-win goaltender and a 20-win goaltender on the same club in the same season.
Yep. They basically got the automatic Jennings trophy. It's basically automatic this year for them. And they, to your point too, like I get it, he was playing through an injury, but Ullmark, who is pretty much the consensus Vezina Trophy winner this year,
he should be a unanimous
absolutely
Vezina winner. He really should.
And yet the clutch gene just nowhere to be found in the future Vezina Trophy winner of Linus Ullmark.
Yeah, it really.
Injury aside, I get it. If he's injured, I get it. Just like same thing with Patrice Bergeron being out with a herniated disc for the first 4 games of the series, which again, and I'm not gonna we're gonna talk about the series, the tangents that man. Will you and I'll reference this as we go through the show tonight? We got some really toxic fan bases on Twitter for the NHL.
Oh boy, do we ever. We had
Boston's up there. You'll get to Dallas and you'll really be able to speak to that one.
And I will not deny as well that Minnesota fans were absolutely playing into some of that toxicity as well. Similar degrees of toxicity.
Exactly. You know, those we got Boston.
Does it.
The New York fan base is complete utter bullshit. So yeah, but like all the hate I saw, not hate, but like blame being passed to Patrice Bergeron, like this man is the best player in your franchise's history, maybe outside of Bobby Orr. Like
and they have a pretty storied history.
Exactly.
All the players that have come through there.
Phil Esposito too. All right, fine. Like, but he's in the team photo. Ray Bork. He's in the team photo.
I think if you're putting together a Mount Rushmore of Boston Bruins, you probably have to put
Patrice on there. Apparently, some diehard Bruins fans put blame on him and mostly him, and it's not just this season. I saw some tweets about like the 2013 against the Hawks or 2019 and with the Blues, and it's just like, what are you doing, man? Like teams best you. It happens. But in this case, I mean, this was just an utter implosion, but we're talking about the Bruins losing the series, but we really do need to give credit to the Panthers also fighting it out and winning the series. Matthew Tkachuk is a monster.
Yeah, speaking of the fans, we got a couple of comments here. HP saying that the Dallas Stars, and then he goes on to specify that it's the fans.
Worst fans.
Jesse saying Rangers fan base may be the worst I've seen, with death threats to Kane. Way to keep him wanting to stay in New York City.
You've just teased my 2 minutes for roughing.
Yep. Yeah. Oh boy. Like, and on HP's point, like Stars fans were sending death threats to Matt Dumba. They were sending death threats to Michael Russo, who is the beat writer for The Athletic, who covers the Wild, including like sending him pictures of his house.
Oh, I saw that. That was as early as like game 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was early on, like insane.
It's a game.
Yeah,
but you know, speaking of, you know, and we'll touch on that stuff. We'll make fun of some of the shitty. Not all of the fan bases, or not all the fans in all the fan bases are shitty. But we will make fun of it. We will touch on it. But yeah, I mean, what more can you say about this upset than just wow?
Yeah, I mean,
that's the cup.
One thing that we absolutely nailed when we said during our trade deadline show, Tyler Bertuzzi, Dmitry Orlov, perfect playoff players to add to Boston's system. Bertuzzi led the team in points with 10. He had 5 goals, 5 assists. Orlov, no goals, but 8 assists in 7 games.
Yeah.
And when you think of what his role was on that team, like he wasn't really set to be a top pairing defenseman, but he played at that level. Orlov did. The moves they made are 100% justifiable.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they absolutely did what they had to do. And those moves,
they didn't necessarily break the bank for those moves either.
Oh, they didn't. No. They really didn't. But you look at where the rest of things fell. You know, yes, you had Bergeron playing through injury. You still got 5 goals through 7 games from David Pastrnak.
Yep.
You still got 10 points in 7 games from Brad Marchand, 8 points in 7 games, including 5 goals from Taylor Hall.
Yep.
Your players offensively did what they were supposed to be doing.
Yep.
It was everything else in the team game around that. And credit to Florida. They made adjustments. They tweaked their game plan. They shuffled the lines. They did what they needed to do. And they responded with a win. Sergei Bobrovsky coming out of nowhere to suddenly be really spectacular after an underwhelming season. Really stepped up when it counted for Florida. That's why he has the start tonight in place of Alex Lyon.
And right now it's working so far. I mean, he's a $10 million goalie for a reason. I mean, and it's funny.
As much as we love Alex Lyon, he's not going to continue to get playoff starts over Bobrovsky.
No, he had himself a nice breakout season. He won't be going away. Now you have your future potentially. Yeah. Well, Alex Lyon's kind of old now, isn't he? He's a journeyman kind of guy, right? But anyway.
HP, the number 1 cop on the force.
Yeah.
Jesse's saying Philly doesn't even do that. with the death.
That he's got a good point. That Philly doesn't even do that type of stuff, and they throw batteries at NFL players. So
Snowballs at Santa Claus.
Snowballs at Santa Claus. Yeah. So no, New York puts them to shame on that front for sure. But we'll get to that. Yeah. I mean, it was just so fun though. Like you love seeing the big upsets, and again, the President's Trophy curse continues, and still the only team to break that curse.
Not the only team, but the most recent team.
The most recent team, the only team in the last 20 years.
Get your Hawks love in for the show.
Absolutely. Hey, we got an important day on Monday.
The Seattle Kraken going from the east to the west here, winning their first playoff series in team history, also taking down the defending champion Colorado Avalanche. What a way to do it. The first time that a team has won their first playoff series in franchise history against the defending champs.
Yep.
Really something special for Seattle, something unexpected at that.
And the first time that one team has scored the first goal in all 7 games. The Kraken scored the first goal in all 7 games. They never once looked out of it, actually. And this is, I like how we're kind of going to mesh both of these upsets together. I want to know, I mean, I feel like it's an obvious choice here, but which one of these to you was the bigger upset?
To me, the bigger one was Florida over Boston.
That's what I'm saying. Knowing
how injured Colorado was, knowing Boston being the President's Trophy winner and Florida kind of backing into the playoffs down the stretch. Seattle, a 100-point hockey club. I mean, this was a good Kraken team.
It's a nice bounce back from, that the Kraken worst to, not first, but figuratively worst to first.
Bottom 5 to advancing in the playoffs in 1 year.
Bottom 5 to knocking out the defending Stanley Cup champions, which it is the obvious choice. I figured you were going to say that, but it's funny to at least ask because during that Boston-Florida series, like you said, I mean, Boston was up 3-1. President's Trophy winner, the juggernaut that they were, they had 3 straight games to end it, right? They were up in Game 7, right? So, Florida was pretty much flatlining at a couple moments in the series. The Kraken never once did that. Never once were the Kraken ever out of any game.
No, they really... And credit to Dave Haxtell as well for coming up with a game plan to really slow down and neutralize McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar. You couldn't stop them entirely, but they slowed them down, and they slowed them down enough to advance. Not only that, but losing leading scorer Jared McCann in the middle of the series as well.
Yeah, we talked about that last episode.
That was tough loss there. He's still not making the trip, so he will not play games 1 or 2 of the second round now while he's still recovering.
That's a huge loss
from that play. It really is, but the resiliency of the Kraken to get past that, the Philip Grubauer revenge tour, beating his former club, that had to feel so good, especially with how poor his regular season numbers were. Again, like Bobrovsky, where we talked about elevating your game come playoff time, Grubauer absolutely did that.
Oh, absolutely. And I like what you said there too. It absolutely was the revenge series. It wasn't talked about too much, but everyone who follows hockey deeper, just knew, it's there. It's a tiny little storyline. I have a fun little nugget for you about this series.
You do, and I was just going to try and lead you to it because HP is commenting on it in the chat as well. So.
Okay.
So you get your nugget up, and I'll throw HP's comment up there. And
so, again, like I said, the Kraken were never out of it. They earned this upset, quote unquote, really every bit of it. But this fun little thing is that the Colorado Avalanche, all of their goals, every single goal for the entire series, all their goals and their primary assists only came from 4 players, and that's Rantanen, McKinnon, Taves, and Makar. And not to mention, additional to that, they had 0 bottom 6 goals. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. HP had you covered if you didn't.
That was I heard that today. Elliot
if nobody's got us, HP's got us.
HP, yeah. I wish I could just be like, HP told me that today. Whoever's watching that doesn't know who I heard it from. You heard it from HP or me. No.
Yep.
I heard it from Elliot Friedman, who heard it from someone else. But on his 32 Thoughts podcast, and I had to rewind the podcast really quick because I was like, did I just really? But that's the whole thing. And you and I have talked about that. Like, you want to win a cup, your depth has to score. You cannot always rely. You do need one superstar caliber player on your team to
at least
have a shot at winning the cup or even making it to the cup. Yes, always. But you can't simply just rely on them and that's it. And we'll get to why that didn't work for the Rangers.
Right.
Anyway.
And in Colorado's defense as well, you got a point per game pace from McKinnon. Yep. You got better than point per game pace from Taves and Rantanen. Rantanen, in fact, was at a goal a game pace, 7 goals in 7 games. All of their stars played well when they needed to, and McKinnon really got robbed of a couple of goals in that elimination game. He had the one shot that went off of Rantanen's backside and into the net.
Oh, yes. There was obviously
had a goal overturned with the offsides.
That's fair, though.
But he had multiple pucks that he put into the net in that game. Now, whether they counted for his goals or not is another point. But players stepped up for Colorado. The bottom 6 did not.
The bottom 6 did not. And to an extent, I'm not saying he didn't play well, but, Georgiev did not play up to snuff.
No.
That's not the performance you need to advance in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean,
right. And we look at last year where Darcy Kemper was not spectacular in the playoffs, but he was good enough.
Yeah.
You look at the depth that the Avs had last year where you had Nazem Kadri putting up 90-plus points in the middle of your lineup. They did not have that type of scorer. They lost Nichushkin in the middle of the series as well. There's some weird circumstances around that. We're not totally going to get into all of that, mostly because there's still some inaccuracy or at least points of contention over what's been reported. His was the left the team in the middle of the series because there was an individual transported from his team hotel room to a hospital who was severely intoxicated.
Oh, I did hear about this.
There are international concerns over all of that as well. So we're not going to get too deep into that here. Okay. But that's, of course, a big concern for Colorado and what happened there. But again, credit to Seattle. They battled hard. They earned the win in the series and are advancing into the second round. So congrats to the Kraken.
And to that point, and I'm assuming that's what's going to lead this here, if you were going to tell me, hey, why don't you maybe bet a fun little parlay? It's probably a waste of money, but go ahead. Bet like a $100 parlay and parlay of the Bruins, the Avs, and
the Lightning.
The Lightning all getting bounced and upset in the first round. I probably wouldn't be here. Bank. I would be on a beach somewhere drinking a Mai Tai because I would have made probably $100,000.
Yeah, and not only was it that Toronto finally ended their playoff drought, 19 seasons without advancing in the postseason.
Yeah,
it has been a long time coming. In fact, they, by a matter of a couple of days, were stopped short of being the only team in the post-lockout era to not advance in a playoff series because the only other team that qualified for that statement was the Seattle Kraken, who did it 3 days later, 4 days later.
Exactly. I hated to have to segue I should have segued into the Florida up 2-0.
Florida up 2. They just scored again.
Wow. Well,
12:02 to go in the second
I guess
period.
maybe I'll jinx it by saying Toronto finally did it. They finally. Did you see all like the celebrations and like all the videos? Like
You
to
would
me,
think they had just this was their cup,
and
honestly,
that's
in a
to me
way.
that's what's awesome. Like I
Mhm,
get it. Like it's like, oh, you just made it past the first round. That's
mhm.
important to them. It was such a drought. Like
I will be roughly that celebratory when the Wild get out of the first round
you've gotten
because
out of
they
the
are
first.
encroaching
No,
on
because you got to the second round not too long ago. It's been, I mean, yes, about
7 straight first round exits.
8 years. 8 years ago now.
7
Last time,
straight first round
so,
exits for the Wild.
right. So you still got a ways.
We're getting close.
You got to wait. You got a ways to go. Toronto has been since 2004. You got a ways to go.
Yeah, yes, it's been a long time.
But it's so fun too, like watching all the videos of everyone celebrating. Like, yes, obviously the job's not like Kobe, job's not done. Oh, wait.
Matty Nice.
Oh man, here we go. He had himself a series too.
He did. My favorite stat is that Matty Nice is 5-1 at Amalie Arena in calendar year 2023.
Dude, I was honestly so like excited for them. And of course, wouldn't you know it too? Like there's been kind of this back and forth of like, man, you wasted all this money on signing John Tavares to that long contract.
Mhm.
Who broke the drought for you?
Yeah.
John Tavares. So it's like, in a way, just having a little fun about it. I know the job's not done, but having some fun, that to me probably made the Tavares signing worth it for them. Plus, he's just fun. He's fun to watch. He's their captain. Like that. That was just so poetic. It was so fun to see. Personally, I was happy to see the Lightning get bounced too. Like all these ups. These 3 series alone, and we're not even done. To me, are like why this is probably the craziest. Like I said, the craziest playoffs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'll say top 3 most exciting. I can't exactly put them over my championship personal ones.
Yeah. The best regular season team eliminated at home in overtime of Game 7. The defending Cup champs eliminated at home in Game 7
by a team that's never won a playoff series in their history or their
and
first
the team
history,
that was the runner-up in last year's Stanley Cup and won the previous 2 was also eliminated in overtime at home in Game 6. There is no better time in the sports calendar than right now, except maybe October when you've got the start of NBA and NHL seasons, hockey in full swing, and MLB postseason going. Like that's
and NFL started. You forgot the NFL, man.
I said NFL.
No,
I said NBA and NHL starting in October, NFL in full swing, and MLB in postseason.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. And even with the you love the chaos. Arguably the only thing more chaotic is March Madness. Barely. The upsets are good for exactly.
Right.
I agree.
And upsets are good for March Madness too, to that point.
Exactly. Like people want to see the Cinderella. Now I can see the argument of like I've seen like markets aren't exactly, TV like interests and everything aren't exactly happy about like, all right, well now we got Toronto, Edmonton, Florida, New Jersey, like I get it. But it's so fun to watch. And like that's part of growing the game too. Like, yes, you want the big markets in there, like a Chicago, like a New York, like Dallas is in there. So you want the bigger markets, I understand.
Yeah. But Dallas, not a traditional hockey market, but a big TV market, which is important too.
And the fandom is growing since they've gotten so good. So like it's all good for the game. And same thing here. Like New Jersey, that's a household name in the NHL. They haven't been there in a long time, but it's a household name in the NHL. Like to me, it's just so fun. And I challenge anyone to tell me what is better than the Stanley Cup playoffs because you won't come up with anything. Whatever you come up with is wrong.
Yeah, I get that for casuals, but for people into hockey in these lesser markets, it's good for you. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Great for the excitement value.
Absolutely.
And the storylines that we're going to get down the way as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
What we have right now, like you have 2 of the upset teams against each other right now. It's 2-1. They're going to be battling. To me, every series in round 2, and obviously we'll get to that. We still have one more game to cover here, but we won't take long on it.
We got a few more to cover here.
Well,
But,
we do,
yeah.
but yeah, the rest of these were the main big ones.
They were the
Everything
big
else-
ones that we wanted to get right out of the gate. Yep.
Exactly. So we'll get to our round 2 preview, but like to me, as a tease, the field is wide open.
Yeah. And like, consider this. You're either going to have Florida, who backs to the wall down 3-1, win 2 playoff series in advance, or you're going to have the Toronto Maple Leafs, who went 19 seasons without a playoff win, advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals now that they finally have one.
Right.
Like, you're one of those 2 scenarios is going to play out one way or another here, which is awesome.
Exactly. There was a stat I wanted to pull up. Go ahead, continue.
But while you're looking that stat up, I'm going to bring up a couple of our other series here that we wanted to touch on as well. Vegas eliminated the Winnipeg Jets 4-1. We thought that series was going to be over pretty quick. I think we both said 5 games on that one, and sure enough, that's how it turned out.
Yeah.
Big changes coming for the Jets this offseason. Bonuses comments after the elimination, calling out the core of the team, it was pretty substantial to me. I would not be surprised if Blake Wheeler is traded this offseason.
Whoa.
I think there will be several other dominoes to fall. Frankly, I think Connor Hellebuck may ask for a move. Just kind of seeing the writing on the wall in Winnipeg.
I can't find it.
They may need to go full nuclear on the bit. HP laughing at Rick Bonus and the comments here. Credit to Vegas for the win. To me, the storyline here is how absolutely flat Winnipeg fell in this first round.
It's the thing too. Like, Vegas is a damn good team. Like, to me, one of the, but before all the eliminations, for me, they were probably top 4 favorite to win the cup out of the playoff teams in. And they're still a favorite for sure, but it's almost like scary now because it's like you thought this might be a kind of like a sleeper test for them, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
The one game they lost, you're like, whoa, hold on. Winnipeg's fighting. And then that was it.
Yeah. With Winnipeg, I mean, and they're to their credit, their power play showed up 41.7% in that series, second best of any first round team. And Vegas still shrugged that off, kept the pedal down, and they were able to find ways to win the game. And I'm kind of with Bonus here. And you saw Wheeler stripped of the C ahead of the season.
Yeah, that was, I remember we talked about
weird.
That was weird.
But the more you look at it, the more you start to connect some of the dots here. Like, maybe that was part of the problem. And maybe that was why Patrick Laine so badly wanted out of Winnipeg.
And maybe that's why, like we said during the regular season, I remember we had a show early on where you had called them out, like, well, let's watch out for Winnipeg. Like, they're sneaky, really
like
good.
Mid-February.
Yeah.
Late January, early February, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And they were on a tear and just nosedived immediately, like curse of the show, I guess. But they tanked. They fell apart. And they were starting to get things figured back out ahead of the playoffs. It looked like, okay, maybe they might make some noise, push the series a little bit. But Vegas was absolutely ready for him.
Vegas is hungry, man.
Yeah.
Like, last year was a fluke. I told you it was a fluke. They barely missed the playoffs. And I knew they were going to be right back in it. Their window has been open since they've been a franchise, since they were born.
Finally won a playoff series.
Exactly. Jack Eichel finally was in the playoffs. Yeah. This was his first playoff series ever anyway, and he won it too. He's 1-0.
Yep.
Oh my God. And I know, again, another tease for the preview round 2. Is there nothing better for the hockey fans, for all of us diehard hockey fans, that we finally get a playoff series of Jack Eichel versus Connor McDavid?
Oh, that's going to be so fun to watch, because those two are both going to be on the ice at the same time. Same draft year, first overall, second overall. The storylines around that are going to be fantastic to watch.
Sports writers, your stories are writing themselves.
Yes. Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
That is a tap into an empty net from the top of the crease. It's that simple.
Just make sure to not slip on an invisible banana peel like Jack Hughes did.
Matthew referencing my favorite meme that I saw about that. Franklin the Turtle goes on LTIR to circumvent the cap. Yeah, the Mark Stone.
We had this argument.
He's back. We've talked about this on the show quite a bit.
Did.
All points aside, Mark Stone shows up and plays lights out in the playoffs and shuts everybody on the opposing team down.
Oh, Captain.
He is going to be deployed heavily against Connor McDavid, which if Edmonton, and we'll touch on this with Edmonton here coming up, if they decide to keep McDavid and Draisaitl together, may make Stone's job easier. You break those two up and you figure out, okay, who is Stone deployed against? He's got to go against McDavid, which should open things up dramatically, even more so than they have been for Draisaitl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it looks good for a man fresh off back surgery. Just saying. Yeah. Well. Yeah. From one series that had a number 1 and number 2 overall pick playing against each other to another where you had competing first overall picks in Hughes and Lafreniere, the New Jersey Devils advancing past the New York Rangers. Joel, the Rangers were your pick to win the cup.
So I went back and forth. I had them making it to the cup. I have to confess, I actually, in my original post, I had Edmonton beating them.
Oh, you did. You're right.
But I switched.
You had them.
I ended up. Yeah. I actually edited the post and switched it because I was like, wait.
Yeah. What we tweeted.
I changed my mind, and I actually since changed it back, obviously because they're out and Edmonton's still in. But I was like, hold on, that's not fair. I did originally say Edmonton, so. Yeah. I went back on it, but yes, no, I agree. I for a little bit there during the first round, or before the first round started, I had said Edmonton somehow, but there was something in me where I was like, I just know this Rangers team just went that it was the definition of chips all in. You bring it. We talked about it ad nauseum. Tarasenko, Kane, what's the other guys?
Mikkola,
Mikkola. Tyler Mott, they brought in a bunch of random, just a lot of, and they were just so ready to go. And the only ones to show up for the Rangers all series were Chris Kreider, Patrick Kane, and I think Vladimir Tarasenko.
No, not Tarasenko. Well, Tarasenko to a degree.
No, who am I missing?
Is it Adam Fox?
Adam Fox. Thank you. Yes, my bad. Yeah. That's who it was. So yeah, it was. I saw. Actually, this was me bashing New York fans for trying to shit on Kane and blame him for everything. No, he literally was third. He was top 3 on your team in points in the playoffs. Had some big points. Had some big goals. Don't blame him. Your coach screwed it up and didn't use him or Panarin correctly. Panarin nowhere to be found all series.
Along for the ride, absolute passenger. He had no goals, 2 assists.
He had 2 points all series long. That's horrible.
Tie game in Toronto. Michael Bunting back in the lineup and scores.
Oh my God! As long as Florida covers.
Is that what you bet on tonight?
I had a fun little 4-leg parlay. I bet it was literally all of the plus puck line. So it was
over the game ones.
Yeah. So it was Florida plus 1.5, Seattle plus 1.5.
New Jersey
plus 1.5, and then I believe it would be
another Western.
It'd be Vegas plus 1.5.
Vegas plus 1.5.
Yes. So I just did that. I was like, I had a free bet. It's fun.
Yeah. Going back to
go ahead.
The Rangers here. Lindy Ruff outcoached the Rangers throughout the series. And theme of the night really on this show, coaching counts in the playoffs. And you have to be able to make adjustments. You have to be able to recognize what isn't working.
Yep.
you have to be able to scheme up a game plan to play to your strengths and to expose opponent weaknesses.
Yep.
Lindy Ruff did that. Gerard Gallant did not. And Gallant may be out with the Rangers.
I believe
there's been a lot of talk about that.
There's going to be a lot of change for the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the regular suspects are going to stay around, like Kreider, Fox, Panarin. I mean, he's signed till like 2020.
He's on a long term.
7,
that man
8.
Got paid, and
exactly.
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. He deserves it. But Kane's not staying. Just this first round exit tells me Kane's not staying. I don't know where he's going. We'll talk about that in the offseason. I have no idea where he's going.
Fox signed through the end of the 28-29 season.
There you go. Gallant's going to be
Mika
out.
Zibanejad through the end of the 29-30. Trocheck signed through 28-29. Other than that, I mean, yeah, you're right. Tarasenko, I don't see how he sticks around.
Oh, yeah, right. Tarasenko, he's not staying.
Maybe, like, if they can get him at the right price, maybe. But I think he goes to the open market and gets paid.
Yeah.
David's saying, rip my bracket. Yeah.
Colorado, Minnesota, Boston, Tampa Bay. Look, I'm sorry for your bracket.
Most of us.
Yeah, I'm
I
sorry
had 4
for
of
your
those
bracket.
5. The only one I didn't have of that list was Dallas.
Minnesota. I'm sorry for your bracket, but to me, the chaos, we talked about it, the chaos, and I love the fact that I was like sitting there like, oh man, like most of my picks are screwed, and I'm like, you know what? I don't care. That's fun. Except, hold on, I did pick Toronto.
David's going to hurt your feelings a little bit with this comment here. He did say it was incredibly weird seeing Kane in a Rangers uniform.
You're preaching to the choir, David. I was trying to watch every game he played, and it never, ever got normal to me. We'll talk more about it. But yeah, that's the only – there's going to be big changes in New York for sure. Here's one thing I want to touch on really quick. I know we're
Go ahead.
Spending more time on round one.
All good. We got to keep things rolling here, but yeah, you got time for this.
This series to me was a statement of the future is nigh, because the play styles of these teams were drastically different. The Devils come at you with breakneck speed, line after line after line. We talked about the lack of experience is going to catch up to them, and they're not going to get the job done. Well, we both got pied in the face there. The lack of experience didn't mean a damn thing, because those Devils can skate.
They sure can.
And the Rangers tried. What did I mention? I said Gallant's going to try and slow the game down. And then when the Rangers slow the game down and they can play at their own pace, that's when they were good. Well, they couldn't slow the game down. They couldn't slow the Devils' play down. And to me, that is the ultimate, like, that the Devils are one of some other examples how you want to build a team. You want speed. Speed is the name of the game now, and it's not going away. Brute force is no longer going to work. By the way, Jacob Trouba is a piece of shit.
Yeah, dirty hit.
That was a horribly dirty hit on Timo Meier.
And you look at the way you mentioned how the Devils are built, where you have, yes, you got some nice draft luck in landing Jack Hughes. Luke Hughes headed there too soon, by the way, on the back end defensively.
That's funny. Nico Hischier.
They went out and grabbed Dougie Hamilton when they could in free agency. They took advantage of Colorado's expansion draft situation, and they were able to trade and acquire Ryan Graves on the back end. They took advantage of Andre Palat and the Lightning's inability to keep everybody together from their cup runs, and really piecemealed it into something that is capable of a deep playoff run. Not to mention, Vitek Vanacek starting to struggle a little bit between the pipes. Akira Schmid coming up and absolutely balling out for the Devils. That man may save their postseason.
Absolutely.
And Simone Nemeth too. They have such a good defensive core on the way. We got some speed kills, new NHL, all about speed. Devils crack it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm here for it.
It's
way more exciting to watch that.
You know who else is really exciting to watch? The Edmonton Oilers. That was the most natural place I could have segued that.
Yes.
Edmonton advancing past the Los Angeles Kings. I had picked the Kings in that one, so a little bummed there. But I'm definitely not bummed about seeing McDavid, Draisaitl, and company in the second round. Do love the storyline of Eichel versus McDavid in this second round. Can Edmonton keep the offense rolling? Because against Vegas, they're going to need to score a lot. And they're going to have to figure things out real quick in that too.
Vegas has now what's left, arguably one of the more deeper defensive, cores, I'd say, in the playoffs that's left. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think they will keep the offense going. We're going to do picks and everything later, but I definitely think the offense is not going to dry up. And I say that off of being 1-0 on. We talked on our show when McDavid had scored, 1 point in 2 games for the first 2 games, or 2 points in 2 games.
Held off the scoreboard, I think.
Yes,
for sure through
so that's right. He had no points in game 1, and I think he had 2 assists in game 2.
Yeah, something like that.
And we were like, oh no, what's happening? And I remember I quoted Aaron Rodgers and I said, everyone relax.
Relax. Yep.
Relax. And sure enough, what happened? He exploded. He arrived.
McDavid is going to do McDavid things.
McDavid is Thanos. He is inevitable.
Yep. Yeah. And to credit Draisaitl too,
right?
At one point, there was a stat that was Draisaitl was on the ice for something like 15 of the 18 goals that Edmonton had scored to that point. Yeah. Had something like a 92% expected goals share when he was on the ice.
Yeah.
He dominated LA in that series in so many ways. If Draisaitl can be that effective, if Nugent Hopkins can continue to elevate his game and be effective.
Zach Hyman, too. He's a playoff guy, man.
Yeah, Hyman is.
He is a playoff performer.
If they can get Stuart Skinner to a 900 to 905 save percentage, even, that will be enough. If they can keep his goals against average below a 3.2, they got a good shot. But looking at the numbers right now for Edmonton, as I'm getting the page to load here, Skinner, 890 save percentage and a 343 goals against average. That's against the Kings. Vegas has some more playoff experience than the Kings. They have some more potent top-end goal-scoring talent. Florida retains the lead. It is 3-2 after a goal from Carter Verhaeghe, who has been brilliant in the playoffs, by the way. But yeah, and Campbell, came in. He picked up a win in the game that he played, 964 save percentage, 118 goals against. Yeah. But they're going to continue to run Stuart Skinner. And if you are making your bed with Stuart Skinner, those numbers have to improve, especially against Vegas, because Vegas is better defensively as a team than the LA Kings.
Yep.
A goaltending battle in the first round, as it turned out. Carolina beats the New York Islanders. Sorry, I'm still just talking about Edmonton. Carolina beats the Islanders 4-2. Are the Hurricanes the deepest team remaining in this playoff field?
I actually don't know.
It's
just
tough.
Based on the performances of the other teams we've talked about, and we still have yet to talk about another one too that's pretty damn deep. I don't know anymore. I understand that they're probably a favorite now for sure, but I know they were kind of banged up. I'm sure some of those guys that were banged up and came back are still playing through stuff. I don't actually know. And to me, we said Sorokin could steal 1 game. He stole 2. And I mean, outside of that, the Islanders aren't really that much of a force to be reckoned with. And yet Carolina struggled a little bit at times with them. Still came out on top. Good teams find a way to win. But to me, yeah, this was, I think we had talked about this too. Like this was like the vanilla series. And it was still a great series, but like this was like compared to everything else, this was like this is what we expected. It went one more game than both you and I had Carolina in 5, I believe, but went one more. Like we said, Sorokin could steal the game, so he stole 2.
If the New York Islanders had their current player core, style of play, goaltending talent, etc., if they had that in like 2000 to 2004, they would have won cups in each of those 4 years. With the way that they play now, it was so good for that era of hockey. It does not work for today's NHL for deep, continued, sustained playoff success, or even just getting past the first round. It's going to be very difficult the way that they play without some big roster changes.
Exactly.
But early 2000s, man, that team would have gone. That team might have been your Bruins winning 63 regular season games, but actually continuing through the playoffs and winning there.
That's fair.
They remind me in some ways of the Anaheim Ducks with Jean-Sébastien Giguère in that playoff run that they went on. And playing against the Devils with Brodeur and Scott Stevens. Like, that is the type of hockey the Islanders still play. But they are zagging when everybody else is zigging, and it's not working.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And the other thing, too, like, the Hurricanes are going to be without Teuvo Teravainen probably for the rest of the playoffs, unless
he's done, and Svech is done, and Patches is done.
That to me is just does not spell very good news and good fortune. So yeah, it was good. It was good though. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Our final first round playoff matchup.
I will give you the floor.
I put this one last for a reason.
Go ahead.
The Dallas Stars beat the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota, once again, had a 2-1 lead in the series. Could not take care of business at home. Lost 2 of their 3 at home.
Put your screen up. This is your floor. The Minnesota Wild eulogy starts now.
Yeah, it was really a disappointing end to what was a very fun season. And as we get the chat blowing up here with some Wild fans, pain, crying emojis. Yeah, that's really what it was. The Wild got outworked. They got out-hustled. They got out-coached. They got really out everything in games 4 through 6 in particular of that series. And yes, there were some injuries along the way. Freddie Gaudreau needing surgery, Ryan Hartman being hurt, Kaprizov being banged up, but they haven't actually said what his issue was. No Joel Eriksson Ek. That was a big problem for Minnesota. Their lack of center depth really was exposed in this first round, again, as it always has been. But in particular, I look at Dallas's dominance in the faceoff dot, where Dallas was the best team in the regular season in the faceoff dot and continued that into the playoffs, throttling Minnesota. It was like 56-44 on a faceoff percentage split. And when you're able to dominate the dot to that degree, it makes it very tough for a team like Minnesota to keep up. I look at Dallas's power play, which was lights out. Minnesota did not make adjustments. Part of that as well was losing those faceoffs. Dallas, on more than one occasion, scored in the first 10 seconds of a power play. They scored, I think, 9 power play goals in the series because Minnesota refused to make adjustments. They couldn't win a damn faceoff. And it was so frustrating to watch as a fan. Same year, different story. Michael Russo, who we mentioned earlier in the show, said that he could basically copy and paste last year's first round series against the Blues, swap out the names of Dallas Stars players and change all those references, have the exact same article, and it would still be relevant. It's the same issues that have been, plaguing this team year after year after year. That said, I still think there are a lot of things that you can point to and say were successes for this team this year. And I like looking at things in a positive way, especially with my teams. I look at how Matt Boldy stepped up while Kirill Kaprizov was out. That was huge for the Wild this year. I look at how Philip Gustafsson stepped up coming over in the trade from Ottawa this offseason to really take over the starting reins. And I think next year he's going to get the lion's share of the starts with Marc-Andre Fleury as the backup. That's what I'm anticipating here. We saw Freddie Gaudreau continue to step up along the way. HPSC, they're blaming the refs in the comments. And yeah, that's fair. The referees in game 4 were not part of the second round crew. The NHL said, yeah, you're not working the second round. They were lucky they got to work any games after game 4. But going back to the Wild here, there are a lot of positives, but man, like this really stings to continue to lose in the same way. It would be one thing if they maybe won in the first round and lost in the second. It would be one thing if they made a deep run, or if, heaven forbid, if Fleury and Gustafsson and Wallstedt were all hurt, and you're playing like your 4th string or 5th string goaltender. They don't have those types of situations going on with this team. But there's really a lot of players who were passengers throughout the series, and it killed the Wild.
Yeah, it's one of those too. Like we talked at the beginning about like what would you consider a season of failure? This one, you could find an argument. I don't really know if I would consider it a failure, especially based on everything.
Right. I can't call the season a failure, but I can absolutely call the playoffs a failure.
Well,
the fact
when you
that
get bounced in the first round, it's a failure for everybody.
the fact that they were 6 points out of first place with a team that had $15 million in dead cap, like the framework is there. And once they get past the Parise Suter buyouts, this team is going to load up. They have a very talented prospect pool. They have all sorts of young guns at Iowa who are waiting for that call up to the next level.
Shout out Rockford Ice Hogs for knocking out the Iowa Wild.
Yeah, you get, Iowa was without its leading scorer in the first game because Sammy Walker got called up, and then just all of the guys sent down from Chicago. They got the reinforcements, and that's what we're seeing in the AHL playoff, by the way. I'm just going to touch on that for like 5 seconds here. The clubs that are tearing it up in the AHL playoffs right now, save for the Texas Stars, are the beneficiaries of loads of reinforcements coming down from the NHL ranks.
That's why Rockford's doing so well, honestly.
Yeah. And I mean, the Milwaukee Admirals, who are my pick to win the Calder Cup this year, they got like 8 guys from Nashville sent down at the end of the regular season who will all play top 6 forward or top 4D roles when they get down. Those are your very deep teams.
Our arguable top forward we have is in Rockford right now.
Yeah.
Get it right, Joel. It's Screw City Ice Hogs. Yeah, that's fair.
But Kyle commenting here. Yeah, Wild have the players couldn't put it together. Yeah, they had spurts of hockey where they really matched up well with Dallas, but those spurts would last maybe 5 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, and then Dallas would take it right to them.
Yeah, and you can't take away, like, Dallas looks like a wagon.
There's a reason I picked Dallas to go all the way. When you have a top 5 power play, top 5 penalty kill, and you're number 1 in the league in faceoffs, and you were the only team that went into the playoffs, nobody on the injury report, that's a lot going in your favor. They're well built. Oh, and you have a, guy, I don't know if anyone really knows who he is, but he goes by the name of Jake Ottinger. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lakeville, Minnesota's finest.
if he keeps it going, like that's how I wanted to like segue this into previews of round 2 was like this series against the Wild, who I really like. I said Dallas would win, but I actually wasn't positive about that. That was kind of like maybe. The way Ottinger played and the way their offense played, Rupe Hintz is a monster.
He was so good in that first
yeah,
round.
Miro Heiskanen is also just going off. If they keep going like this, I can see your prediction happening now.
Well, and
speaking of predictions,
organizationally too, like I just want to get this last point in on Dallas. Texas Stars won the division, the Central Division at the AHL level. Their ECHL affiliate, the Idaho Steelheads, were first place this year, and Dallas was a point off of winning the Central. So organizational depth, they've got it in space.
Pretty set.
They are really looking good right now. But Joel, we have a special announcement that we need to get to before we start talking about the second round.
Yes, we do.
So I'm going to let you take this one and lay it on. Surprise.
Oh, well, it's going to be off the cuff too. I'm not reading anything. And that's a nice little hint. Pod Snipe Celly, everybody, has its first official sponsor.
Yes, we do. We are proud to be sponsored by BetStamp. For those who are not as familiar with BetStamp, they were founded in 2020. They are a sports betting app which helps users increase profits, manage their processes. They can't wager directly through the app, but it does help you track your picks, track who you are tailing as well. It is more about betting education than it is about, gimmicks and doing things for the entertainment value. It is an educational betting tool. And that's part of why we wanted to partner with them too. The integrity in the betting industry is important. They are a company that we see that integrity as a value with them. They see that with us. The partnership made a lot of sense. So we are very excited to be working with BetStamp.
Absolutely. And the other thing about it too is like they really truly are like you can go back and forth about like certain betting apps, like, the sportsbook apps, like, we got some good deals and stuff. BetStamp is all about like, we are trying to make you money. Like going in there, and if you're sitting there, and you use one app, which is totally fine. I don't use that many. I use, I think, like 3, but like if you don't use that many, but you're like, I'm thinking about trying out some new ones. It's so cool to go into BetStamp and see like, well, wait a minute, like I want to bet on Florida to win the series, right? What are the best odds? Like, DraftKings is at, whatever that is. Oh, but wait, hold on. Like FanDuel, that's a huge jump of odds. Maybe I should, and maybe I don't have a FanDuel account, right? Like maybe and you can sign up for all these sports books that you find in BetStamp through BetStamp too. So it's just so cool.
Which will help us, by the way. That's how we scratch their back, they scratch ours. So we will have sign up links for the BetStamp app and for all of these sports books as well.
Promo code.
We'll get a promo code posted here. We're still ironing out some of the final details, but the paperwork is done, and they are our sponsor for the next couple months here, and hopefully even longer than that. So we're very excited to have BetStamp on board. They'll be bringing you the Wednesday night pick segment moving forward, and some of our picks throughout the week as well. So thank you,
keep an eye on our
BetStamp,
Twitter.
Keep an eye on Twitter. That will be in particular where we've got a lot of our picks going, and where we'll be interacting with some BetStamp stuff there. But they will be a part of our show moving forward. Very, very excited to have BetStamp on board, bringing us the Wednesday night pick segment in particular. But yeah, we wanted to be sure to shout them out here during the show as well. David giving us a let's go in the chat. Yeah, we're very excited to be working with them.
We are pumped. They're
very excited to be working with us.
They're such cool guys. They're all great to work with. It's going to be fun. Thank you to them for, giving us a chance, and we're excited to use your platform too, and then, get some people signed up and have whoever signs up have as much fun with your app as, we do, genuinely speaking. Like,
yeah, we'll just say for right now, do not sign up for any sports book until
we get you our promo code.
Once you have it, and
hold off.
Yep. Once we have it, and you'll see it, because we'll have posts on Facebook, we'll have on Twitter, and then we'll also have it in the show description on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well.
Dan and I will personally buy you a beer if you hold it, even if you have one account. Don't sign up for any of the other ones you've been tempted by. Don't do it yet. Just wait. Be patient. Keep using that one app for now. We'll get you onto the others.
We'll get you on the others. Yep. but for now, use that one. Once we have the code, go nuts. We will lead you in the right direction through our fantastic sponsor, BetStamp.
We don't lead you astray here. After all, we have Joel Stradamus over here who calls Ovechkin hat tricks.
We do. But did you call the Devils winning in the first round?
I did not. I did call Toronto. I did call Toronto.
Wednesday night pick, playoff edition, tomorrow night. And keep in mind, this is just Wednesday night picks. We're going to talk playoff series, make our predictions there real quick, just kind of on the fly. But for tomorrow, New Jersey Devils plus 100, Carolina Hurricanes minus 120. Joel, who you got in that one?
We were just talking about betting, and I'll go rapid fire here. The Devils, while, yes, they went 7, Carolina only went 5 or 6. They've had a little bit of rest time. I get it, but we talked about how banged up Carolina is, the pure high that the Devils are on right now, too, from that Game 7 domination. I'm not even going to say win, domination.
They owned the Rangers in Game 7
over a Stanley Cup favorite outside of Boston and Colorado and such. I think the Devils keep the high going, and I think they take Game 1. And especially, we talked about the betting aspect of it at plus money to get the Devils. That's a pretty good value to me.
It is, especially when you consider the Devils did win 2 of their 3 playoff games on the road in the first round.
Exactly.
Carolina as well went 2-1 at home. One of the loudest venues in the first round.
Exactly.
Those bunch of jerks. I love that. They'll still be the bunch of jerks.
I know.
I'm with you here that Devils at plus 100 is pretty good value. And with Carolina, are you rested or are you rusted? Because it has been a few days off since they last got into the action, and then they're held out as the team waiting longer to start their second round of play. Meanwhile, New Jersey, an emotionally big win, knowing that you're taking down your biggest rival in the first round as well, and getting to do that at home, winning your first playoff series, and I think it was 11 years. I think their last playoff series win
was against the Rangers in 2012.
It was, which was their go to the Cup, where they lost in 2012 to the LA Kings. That's an emotional win for that franchise, not just the players and the fans, across the board. That is a huge win. I think New Jersey does continue to ride this in Game 1. I like that value. So once we have our promo code, use your BetStamp app and look for the best odds, because I'm sure there's a place that will have it at better than plus 100. You can do a little odds shopping there and find the best bet for it. Player props in particular, we are going to start looking into more of those as well.
Yes.
The Edmonton Oilers road favorites tomorrow night against Vegas. Edmonton Oilers at minus 115. The Vegas Golden Knights at home at minus 105. Joel, I think you and I are going to be in agreement on this one as well.
I'm going to pump. I got to pump BetStamp's tires, because, as you mentioned, I will live demo for you.
Oh, here we go.
We talked about what you said. All right, we got New Jersey at plus 100, right? Well, currently for tomorrow, you can actually get the Devils at plus 104 on FanDuel, or you can get them at plus 104 on FanDuel. So yeah, but little higher than plus 100. Not to mention, if you disagree with us too, by the way, you can get Carolina minus 1.5 for plus 225 on PointsBet. If you really just think we're both idiots and the Devils are going to get killed. So that's just a tiny little taste of what's to come during this partnership. So anyway, on to the Oilers and the Knights. What do we got here?
Yeah, Oilers minus 115, Golden Knights minus 105. A little surprised to see Vegas at home as the underdog in this one. And my betting strategy for Wednesday night picks has always been love a good home underdog when there's value there. I think there is some value there with Vegas at minus 105.
I agree.
But you're taking Edmonton?
I think I'm going to take Edmonton.
Yeah, it's a coin flip when the odds are this close.
We're about to preview the whole round 2 very fast. And to me, I think every series, for the most part, is a coin flip now.
They're so close,
and I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
it's fun.
Balanced. We are still 3-2 Florida over Toronto.
Still, I didn't know that. I thought it was tied.
Third period just started. No, they scored partway through one of my reads. You were looking up a stat. Who was it that had that go-ahead goal there? Somebody dropped it in the chat here. I saw. Carter Verhaeghe was the one who scored the
Who else?
Goal.
Who else?
he has been so good in these playoffs. In fact, let's start there. Panthers versus Maple Leafs. Who you got in the series?
In the series, oh my God, is it tough? I think I got to go with the Florida Panthers. I was trying to talk myself into the Leafs. You were talking me into like this kind of like Washington Capitals-esque juju.
Yep, that was the point I was going to bring up here.
Yeah, where it's like they finally got over that hump. So now I don't know. The Panthers being able to do what they did to the best regular season team that the NHL has now ever seen, and pure stats wise, I don't know how they don't ride that high into the conference final, where they should have made it last year when they were the President's Trophy winning team. So I think I got it. And yes, I will say part of it is bias that they are currently winning game 1, even though again, it's all relative.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there too. Tampa Bay dominated the Leafs in game 1 of that series. It was like 7-3, I think was the final in that one, but it was like 7-1 for a while. I'm not going to totally throw Toronto under the bus for a potential, assuming the score holds, a potential game 1 loss. I'm going to go Toronto because, like you said, with the Caps a couple years ago, they so badly needed to get past the first round of the playoffs. They needed to get past Pittsburgh in the second round. I was ready for them to take on Boston and then to continue to exercise those demons along the way.
You know what?
But against Florida, who beat that team, and as you mentioned, was the President's Trophy winner last year, with a very similar group this year, I see Toronto. I think this Toronto group may end up going to the Cup in the East. At this point. I really think they might.
I would love that. That would be so fun. You're talking me into changing my mind, and that never happens.
It's rare because you stick to your guns. Because you're making good, informed picks, good decisions. We go at it sometimes. I think this is one where
I think I did a little bit of a recency bias on this one, and I'm going to stick with it. I had my faith in Toronto. We're going to switch. We're going to switch.
Right. Because I did not believe in Toronto in the first round. I said, go win a playoff series, and then we can talk about how far you're going to go. But until you win one series, I'm not going to pick you to win. That's why I didn't pick the Wild to win this year either.
Right. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Florida, but I'm not going to lie to you. I don't feel good about it.
Does this series go 7 games?
Absolutely. 100%. That I will triple down on. This series goes 7. If I'm wrong, I don't know. Yeet me into the sun. I don't know.
How about the late game tonight? Seattle Kraken versus the Dallas Stars.
So
You know who I've got in this series, but I want to hear who you've got in this
You
series.
watch them the most, that's for sure. And I think your answer. Oh man, this one's another tough one. Like I said, every series is going to be a coin toss. Here, the one thing I will bring up, you brought up Toronto kind of having that Washington Capitals. What was that? 2018, right? 20, yeah. Or was it 2018?
Mm.
Yeah, it's 2018 Capitals kind of feel to the Toronto Maple Leafs. What I watched of the Seattle Kraken is giving me 2012 LA Kings vibes.
Yeah, just kind of come in out of nowhere
and like they're the young
kids on the block your way to a
total new kids on the block, but holy hell can they skate on you, and holy hell can they score. But it's the Dallas Stars. This is probably the one where I'm going to end up going chalk, and I'm going to say that the Stars and the, kind of Cinderella Seattle story that's going on right now. I think the Stars are going to be too much for him. If for nothing else, Jake Ottinger.
Let me throw this one at you, and shout out to Alex Micheletti for tipping us off to this one. Joe Pavelski back in the lineup tonight for Dallas.
Okay.
So
all right, I really feel good about going chalk now.
That's a game changer for Dallas, who played very well without Pavelski, but what he brings in the dot, what he brings as a net front presence. There are a few guys in the league who can go toe-to-toe with what Pavelski does in front of the net.
And
that's huge for Dallas.
That locker room boost, that morale boost of getting one of your primary leaders back after how he got injured in the first place. Yeah, no, I think Dallas rides it.
Dallas money line value not quite there. They're minus 210 on the money line tonight.
Why do you think I bet the puck line on all the games?
Dallas puck line tonight is plus 135. I'm tempted to take that one tonight, just for the value's sake. Like, I think Dallas can run up the score in this one tonight, knowing now that Pavelski is back. That's huge. I took Dallas to win the cup. I'm taking them in this series.
How many games?
I'm gonna go 6.
I'm with you.
I think Seattle gets. I think they get one of the two at home. I think it's 3-1 Dallas heading back to Dallas for Game 5. Seattle staves off elimination for one more, and then Dallas takes it Game 6.
I hate to do this to you, but to me, the Kraken are a better Wild. Sorry.
We'll unpack that a little more next week. We don't have enough show to unpack that one tonight. Fine. But I'm very intrigued to hear your reasoning behind that.
It was mostly just to get a rise out of you.
Two, and I see two very different teams. And
they're different teams. I'm saying they are better than the Wild. That's why I'm saying they can give. Wild.
They are a better team than the Wild right now. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Like I still think 6, but like I could see 7.
New Jersey Devils, Carolina Hurricanes. I think you kind of teased it a little bit earlier here.
I did.
Are you going with the New Jersey Devils in this one?
I am going with the New Jersey Devils again. Now, here's the difference. We mentioned speed. Speed is the name of the game now, and the Devils have that. So do the Hurricanes.
Yeah, Hurricanes a bit more of a speed team as a whole than the Rangers. I am going to go with Carolina in this series. Partially, I know we talked about experience with the Rangers in the first round, and that kind of bit us in the butt a bit. The big one for me, too, is where is Timo Meier after last night? Is he going to be healthy and able to play? Is he going to be out? Timo Meier being in tips the scales a little bit more towards the Devils, especially knowing the injuries Carolina's been dealing with. If Meier is out, that's going to be big trouble for the Devils. If he's back, things will be closer. I could also see this series going 7 games, but I am going to take Carolina just something about this Carolina team feels different than it did over the past couple of years.
I'm with you. I definitely think 7, but I still do think the Devils can. I think the Devils can do it.
Mm. And then our final series, which I all of these series are entertaining. I think this one might be the most entertaining, and it sucks that it's going to be on the West Coast with the late start times.
Come on, old man.
No,
stay up.
I'm not saying that for me personally, because I'm going to stay up for these games. I am saying that for every East Coaster who's going to go to bed as soon as that first Eastern Conference game is done on the given night and not stay up because they are going to miss out on some spectacular hockey with Edmonton and Vegas.
I was going to ask you to close. You know what? We'll still do that to close out the show, but it'll be a quick answer. So I'll wait. But I am with you. I am so excited for this series. I'm hoping for just this offensive bloodbath. Like, I want 7-6 every single game. It's not how it's going to be.
I think you can pretty comfortably bet the over through at least the first 3 games of this series until we know, getting through, does anybody get hurt, anything like that? What are we going to see there?
I'm so excited for this series.
I think you can comfortably bet the over on these.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is truly a coin toss because both of these teams, you said about Toronto, they can make I think both the Oilers and the Knights can make the Stanley Cup final. Hell, I picked the Oilers to win the Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
They are still my pick. They are still in. I'm going to go with the Oilers, even though, yes, everyone knows the Golden Knights are my second team. But I'm going to go with the Oilers. They're my pick to win the Cup. I'm going to stick to that. However, I am going to – this might not be as much of a hot take as I think, but whoever wins this series will represent the West in the Stanley Cup final.
Interesting. Because I at this point, I'm basically penciling Dallas in. Like,
I know we've talked about how good they
but I'm so in on Dallas. Like,
I know
there are so many things moving in their favor right now, especially now that Pavelski is back, which it may just be the kiss of death. I may have just cursed them here. But I did have Vegas over Dallas in the Western Conference final. So, again, I'm going to have to stick to my guns here.
What? I thought you had Dallas winning the Cup.
I said Vegas versus Dallas in the Western Conference final.
I thought you had – yeah. I thought
with Dallas winning to go to the Cup.
Yeah, okay.
So the Western Conference final would be Vegas and Dallas. Which Dallas would win.
Yeah.
But to get there, I would need Vegas to get by Edmonton. So I'm going to have to go with Vegas on this one.
I'm fine with that.
Just because my bracket is so busted right now, I think in the right direction. But man, is it hard to bet against McDavid and Draisaitl in the playoffs. Like, over 1.5 points on any given night for them in this series.
That's the line.
Feel comfortable taking that bet. Yeah, because they've set the line at 1.5 for those guys. Because they're going to get onto the score sheet one way or another.
There were a couple games where I was like betting McDavid's going to get 2+ points.
Yeah.
And I ended up not betting.
I want to know what the odds were for McDavid under 0.5 points. Like, picking him to stay off the score sheet in game 1 of that series. Like, I just want to know what that line
probably a solid like. Plus 200.
I would bet even more than that. I was thinking that was going to be like plus 400.
I don't know about that.
Maybe for McDavid after
I know,
a 150-point regular season.
I get it.
For him to be off the score sheet entirely in game 1, I would have been. I still am surprised that happened. Yeah, HP saying at least you didn't pick Boston to win the Cup like this, loser. Yeah, sorry, HP.
See, I told you, being my bracket wasn't exactly the most different thing in the world, but it was definitely different from what most people were going to do, and I'm happy I did it.
And we asked, on the show before the playoffs, I said if you can take Boston or you can take the field for who's going to win the cup, we both said take the field.
Yeah, we both said take the field.
Right. There's so much pressure on Boston this year to do it.
Yep.
But yeah,
so
you're taking Edmonton. I'm taking Vegas. You're taking the Devils. I'm taking the Hurricanes. We are both taking the Dallas Stars. You are taking the Panthers. I'm taking the Leafs. So our only series in common is we both think Dallas will move on.
I agree, and
which now means bet Seattle.
Exactly,
right? Because we just jinxed him here.
We don't have to do 2 minutes for roughing. We've gone over because it was so much fun getting the bet stamp news out there.
Yep.
I want to end on one final question.
Go ahead.
You can't elaborate on it. You just have to tell me, and I will tell you mine. What are you most excited for in round 2?
That's a good question.
I teased mine. Don't steal mine. In fact, here, you have to think about it. I will give mine while you think about yours.
Go ahead. Yeah, because I
teased mine. I teased mine already. The thing I'm most excited for in round 2 is absolutely 100,000% McDavid versus Eichel.
Yeah,
I am so excited to find. We have waited since their draft years to actually see that. And like we've never seen it. Eichel's never been in the playoffs until this year. He got robbed of it last year. I'm so pumped. And he showed up for his first ever playoff series too. So I am so pumped to watch those two do battle in the playoffs. It's just a little sad that it's only in the second round as opposed to the conference final, but that's okay.
I think for me, there are several teams in the second round who, to a degree, have some goaltending questions along the way. And it's going to be, how do the coaches make the adjustments? How do they handle goaltending? Because that's always such a tough thing to do. I look at Edmonton, where Skinner was not good in the first round, but he was good enough. Do they consider going back to Jack Campbell, who had good numbers, if the Oilers crap the bed in game 1? I look at Vegas, who has 4 goaltenders that they could be dressing potentially at some point in this series. They went out and they traded for Jonathan Quick at the deadline. Laurent Brossoit is going to be the starter. Aiden Hill's been backing up. Logan Thompson was on a tear to start this season. He could potentially be good to go in a spot start. I look at the Devils, where Akira Schmid really did a lot to carry them into the second round. But if he starts to flounder a little bit, do they go back to Vitek Vanacek?
This is because
I look at Toronto, where isn't it? Samsonov was very good in 4-2 now, Florida over Toronto. But Samsonov played pretty well in the first round series. Will he continue to get starts once Matt Murray is back from his concussion? There are some question marks. Even Florida, Bobrovsky probably going to ride it out, but you very well could go Alex Lyon if things are struggling for Florida. There are tons of questions here. So I very much am looking forward to the chess matches, particularly between the pipes, in how coaches handle that and the decisions that they make with which goaltenders they're trotting out there on any given night. That, to me, is something I'm very much looking forward to.
That's all because you play goalie in Chell. That's the only reason.
I love my goalies. What can I say? That I wanted to take something different than McDavid Eichel, because that really is such a good storyline that we can't not.
Hey, we can both end it on and say we're both excited for the fact that the field is wide open for whoever the hell is going to win the Stanley Cup.
It is, and you know what? Bobrovsky's back on the case.
On the case, Bobrovsky.
That's a great way to end the show tonight.
You're a loose cannon, Bobrovsky.
Thank you to everybody who tuned in and watched, commented during the show tonight. We had a ton of comments tonight, just constantly throughout the show. We love that. Thank you. We are live. This is going to be our new time going forward. 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central.
No more Joel being late.
we realized that, this whole 7 o'clock, it's going to make things way too close for Joel. So back to our 8 o'clock time. We gave it a shot. We tried some things that didn't work. But already we had more people tuning in tonight at 8 o'clock. So that seems like it's going to be a great thing for us going forward. So thank you thank you very much for everybody who tuned in and commented throughout the show. We'll be live Tuesdays at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. You can also catch us on demand anytime with Apple Podcasts, with Spotify, and then on our YouTube channel as well at Snipe Celly. But that's it for tonight's show. He's Joel. I'm Dan.
You're
Enjoy
off the
your night,
case,
everybody.
Bobrovsky.
No, he's back.